Jesus, in bringing this out to those in the crowd, is being able to show us just to what extent Jesus is willing to love and who he's willing to love. The very fact that these people are coming along, and the reason this story is tied in with the synagogue in Jairus is because there couldn't be a greater extreme of how Jesus would operate. I mean, here, this leader, respected leader of the synagogue, that anybody would say, well, certainly Jesus would stop and give this guy the time of day. Because, this guy is a respected leader in the synagogue. And so, it's a no-brainer to think that Jesus is going to go to this guy's house and help out. I mean, if nothing else, he's earned the time with Jesus. And then in the middle of that journey to his house, here's this rejected woman that they would clearly think there is no way Jesus would be interested in that woman. He stops to help. And so we see in this story that it opens our eyes to realize that God cares just as much for the rejected as for anyone else. That Jesus shows equal compassion. If you go on to see the other story, he helps out the other one. In both stories, it was a message of faith. And so we learn, too, that faith is a source of healing, not anything outward. It's not because, if I just come to church on a regular basis, God is going to do this for me. If I just give enough money to, go down to Angel Tree or do something and give, God has got to be able to bail me out and heal me. If I give the appearance of holiness, maybe God will show up. The power isn't in any of those outwardly things. It isn't in systems. It isn't in procedures and ministries or anything. The power that is experienced here, we see, comes out of faith. Faith in Christ. Faith in believing the power of Christ. And what's beautiful about this story is that it's a faith that isn't all polished. It's a faith that's, quite frankly, is very imperfect. She goes in believing, but she doesn't stop. She still does it in secret. She still, when Jesus exposes it, reacts in fear. So it isn't all figured out. It's not a faith that has all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. It's a faith that's just honest, longing for the love of Christ. I think also, too, though, for us is in looking at on how and understanding this love is that it's also a love that flows out to those in need. I mean, they talk about the fact that the disciples said, God, there's tons of people running into you, Jesus. I mean, how are we possibly to know? But when you look into the story, you look into those who come to him, who acknowledge need. We go out and as churches and minister to people, and we go out and promote, or we go into our neighborhoods and stuff. And the reality is that in most of those, there's no power in Christ in their life or anything like that. But when you go to those who are longing to belong and to be loved, those who are longing to experience the healing of Jesus, who feel and acknowledge the need, that's where the power of Christ is really seen and felt. Every encounter with Jesus in these stories gives us really a choice. There's something in this story that we can receive if you relate to the woman, of course, and that you can receive from Jesus, and Jesus seeing all that he offers us and his love for the rejected. But there's also something that we can give, that we can see in this story, that we can maybe see that maybe this truth that we see can be shared with someone else. And as I mentioned, you might feel like that woman that's been rejected. Because believe me, there is plenty of it going around. I have two people that I know who to this day are on the Megan's Law, the directory. And I'm thinking, if there is anything that would relate to this woman, it would be them. I've talked to them before that they don't move in circles because they know that anytime they move, it opens up doors for someone to expose. And when people do find out, they just react with sheer rejection without knowing these people at all. And it doesn't have to be them. We watch the news and we think of murderers and other people and abusers, and we think, oh man, those people are clearly rejected. Or we can look even in our own life in other areas where we just really know that maybe if only people knew, they would reject me. But maybe we're more of the crowd where it's not, we don't feel rejected or anything like that, but we're seeing and we're just wondering, how do I fit in this story? What does this have to do with me? And for those people, I think it's understanding that Jesus invites us to be a part of the story. That Jesus' willingness to offer love to the rejected is not just Jesus and them, but it's inviting us to be a part of it. The Bible is full of that. And in fact, I was when I look at this story, you know what I connected with this story? Was the cloak. I mean, I don't long to be a pair of clothes, but I thought, that's who we are. That's who I am. I'm not Jesus. In Romans, Paul describes how we're being conformed to the likeness of the Son, and he talks about how that we are with Christ, and Christ is with us, but really, I no longer live, but Christ who lives in me, and it's that imagery of really, it is Christ that we bring people to, and we're nothing more than the clothing that he adorns. Clothing that when they get up close, they begin to realize, wow, it is Jesus. And in this story, I think sometimes of how people are too afraid to go to Jesus direct. But somehow they think, well, maybe if I just get around people that kind of know Jesus, maybe if I just get around the clothing, somehow I can experience this. So they come to church. Or they meet a Christian friend, or they start to build a friendship with other Christians. And I wonder sometimes how we have the opportunity Christ gives us to be a part of that experience. It's as if Christ gets up that day and says, what clothes am I going to wear? And we're in that closet saying, choose me. Or are we sitting back and thinking, nah, I know where you're going today, Jesus, and I'd just rather not go there with you. It's not easy, trust me. It's a challenge. We sent out gifts to our son, and so Lisa sent me off to buy a couple of stocking stuffers where we had a McDonald's gift certificate and an In-N-Out gift certificate. McDonald's because, well, he eats both, but there's no In-N-Outs in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, so we figured he has to come back to redeem it. So there's an agenda there. But anyway, I went ahead and I go to McDonald's. It was interesting because I go to McDonald's, and I was going to get just $5. I thought, you know what, I'm going to get two, because I've always wanted to have a gift card that I could give to the guy in the corner and just say, hey, this is just because of the love of Christ. I want to do this, and, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I buy two. One for Craig and one for this homeless person that I'm going to run into. Then I walk over to In-N-Out Burger, and they're closed because of some problem in the store. He said, we'll be open in a half hour or whatever. So I run to the mall. I'm thinking, okay, I'm running to Walmart. I'm going to go drive over to one of these, and I'm going to give him this card. There's nobody around. Where are these homeless people on Christmas? I mean, the one time I'm ready to do it, and they're not there. So I go on about my business, and I got to run back and I go back in In-N-Out Burger. And they're open. And I'm telling you all this because I'm talking about the difficulty of us really wanting to go where Jesus wants to go. Because I pull up there, and who's sitting in front of In-N-Out Burger but a young guy with a sign saying, I'm hungry. And so I walk past him to go get my gift card, and I'm thinking, I'm going to go back to the card and give him that gift card. And I come back out, and as I'm coming out, he's talking to a guy, and he's talking about how, there's no jobs around here. I'm heading back to Vegas. And something in me thought, oh, this guy's scamming. So I didn't give him a card. And I left, and I thought, how would it be? So the point is that this guy rejected, I reject. That's the honesty of it, I'm just telling you. And I'm thinking, what a missed opportunity I had. Because only God could arrange it where I thought they would be, they weren't, and where I didn't think they would be, they were. And I bought a card thinking I'm going to use it over here, and I had an opportunity to use it over here, and yet my prejudice of just something he said to someone else made me make a decision to not join in what God was doing.